Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition live from our studio here at Adesawe in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu. Coming up this evening, the minority is demanding the immediate arrest of the chief executive officer and is lamenting Lament Ventures, the company allegedly implicated in the supply of expired rice of some senior high schools. Meanwhile, the chief of staff, Ekia Frema Ose Opare, has described the expired rice saga as mere propaganda meant to discredit the current administration.
Also tonight, the NDC presidential candidate on course for a one-touch victory in the final national tracker poll conducted by Global Info Analytics. We have the details on all the figures and the numbers.
And later in the bulletin, in the Upper East region, they have actually taken delivery of a consignment of election materials for the December 7 general elections. We have details of which other regions have received their election materials ahead of December polls. We are live around the world on 3news.com and also on Facebook as well. Be part of the show. Let's hear what you make of the many stories we have for you tonight. Meanwhile, Safwa is with us to give us highlights of what to expect in the bulletin.
Thank you, Martin, and welcome to the news summary segment. Let's get to the details now. And the former President John Agyemang has a duty to defend the New Patriotic Party (NPP) and supports its flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, according to Felix Kwasi Ofosu, a spokesperson for former President John Dramani Mahama. Speaking on the matter, Kwasi Ofosu emphasized that as a senior party member, Kufuor is expected to rally behind the NPP's leadership and campaign efforts. Also, the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress (NDC), John Dramani Mahama, has called on Guineans to vote for him in the upcoming December 7 elections. Speaking at a mini rally at the Nsawama Dwejuri Lorry Station on Monday, November 18, as part of his 5-day tour of the Eastern region, Mr. Mahama described the election as an opportunity to correct the nation's challenges by choosing the NDC. Also, the New Patriotic Party's NPP presidential candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has described his policy proposals for the 2024 general elections as bold and transformative. He emphasized that these policies are designed to modernize Ghana and address the needs for citizens, including those in the country's most remote areas. Also, the minority in parliament is demanding swift action from President Akufo-Addo to arrest and prosecute the directors of Laments Investments Africa, accused of distributing expired rice to senior high schools earlier this year. Speaking on the matter, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa also called for urgent national medical screening for affected schools and students who consumed the contaminated rice. And also, the Ghana Toll Workers Union has criticized the government for not fulfilling promises made following the cessation of toll collection in 2021, marking the third anniversary of the policy. The union highlighted the severe hardships faced by over 800 workers who were left unemployed as a result of the decision. And on to our last story, the round 2 of the national polio vaccination exercise is set to kick off from November 23 to 24 to eradicate all forms of polio virus in the country. According to the Ghana Health Service, the ambitious target set for the round 1 vaccination exercise has been achieved, and a round 2 is still necessary for eradication. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Grace and Martin.
Thank you very much. And Grace will give us our first story, and it has to do with what's happening with issues regarding food for our children in various schools.
Martin, let's get straight into it. The minority in Parliament is demanding the immediate arrest and prosecution of the directors of Laments Investment Africa, the company accused of allegedly repackaging and distributing expired rice to some senior high schools earlier this year. Allegations of 22,000 bags of expired Moshosho rice imported from India, illegally repackaged as made in Ghana rice and distributed to schools, have been the center of controversy over the past few days. The NDC caucus in Parliament has described the recent happenings as a criminal conspiracy of state institutions to endanger the lives of students in senior high schools. The minority in Parliament is demanding swift action against the culprit. Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa is MP for North Tongue and chairman for Government Assurance Committee.
President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia cannot remain silent on this grave matter, which jeopardizes the health of millions of Ghanaians. The nation is looking up to them to offer leadership, punish culprits who are largely their appointees, and implement reforms to ensure the safety of our children. The NDC caucus also demands the immediate arrest and prosecution of the directors of Lamens Investment Africa Limited, Mr. Agyemang and Simon Agyemang, those two directors. And Simon Agyemang, at the time of the arrest, was there supervising the operations, director of the company, supervising the illegal operations at the buffer stock storage facility in Kumasi, before the order came from above that he should be released. We demand their rearrest and prosecution. The board and management of the National Food Buffer Stock Company must be sanctioned for allowing their storage facility to be used for this atrocious act and for operating unregistered storage facilities across the country. Such recklessness, which sacrifices the health of our students for corrupt transactions, must not go unpunished. The Ministry of Education must be probed for their conduct in this despicable affair, not only for supervising this rot, which severely endangers the health of SHS students, but also their reported role as alleged by FDA officials that they piled undue pressure to get the FDA to back off. The Ministry of Education must be probed. And Reverend John Tim Fojo, who has remained silent, as if he's not in this country, the earlier he tells Ghanaians why he concealed this information. Because as far back as January, they could have stopped the repackaging and redistribution of this rice. None of them will be made to get away.
The minority insists this matter must not be swept under the carpet, urging the government to prioritize the safety and well-being of students by ensuring accountability and justice. Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff, Akosua Frimo, say Opari has dismissed the allegation as mere propaganda. She spoke on the silence of an event in Accra.
You know it is not true. So please, let us focus on things that move this country forward. I think this is our problem. We have good things. Look at what I've just seen. That should be your focus. How you advance the Ghanaian child. How you improve their opportunities so they become good citizens. Propaganda and rumor mongering has no place in education exhibition. Thank you.
The Chief of Staff, Akosua Frimo Opari, they were working the phone to get a response from the Education Ministry, and then we'll update our listeners subsequently.
Most certainly. Thank you, Grace. Let's go on to some other stories we have for you this evening. And the National Democratic Congress flag bearer is on course for a one-touch victory in the last telephone poll some 19 days to the December 7 elections. That's according to the latest round of polls by Global Info Analytics. The NDC flag bearer is leading with 51.9% of votes, followed by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with 40.5% of the votes. Leader of the new force, Nana Kwame Bediakon, follows in third place with 4.7% and Alan Kojo Chemating with 2.1%. Let's take you through some of the specifics that were captured by Global Info Analytics in their last survey. And what we know is that this is the last survey they have done nationally looking at the contenders in the December 7 election. So according to Global Info Analytics, John Dramani Mahama strongly is favored to win the December 7 elections one touch. And per their last survey, they say he's gaining some 51.9%. The previous two polls indicated that he had about 52%. But this time around, they're saying 51%. 51.9%, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia 40.5%, Nana Kwame Bediakon 40.7%, Alan Kojo Chemating 2.1%, and all the other contenders are hovering just about 0.7%. And the direction of the country, which was one of the questions put out in the survey, people were generally asked, what do you think the direction of the country is? Are we headed in the right or wrong direction? And 63% said that the country was headed in the wrong direction. 29% said it was headed in the right direction, and then 8% of the respondents said they had no opinion as regards the direction of the country. And the key concerns that people had on their minds, which according to the poll will inform their voting pattern, One is the economy. 77% of them agreed that the economy was topical. Then 65% of the respondents said jobs. Then 52%, I should say, said that they believe that the concern, the biggest concern for them is that of jobs, I beg your pardon, education. So we have been joined on the phone lines now by Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director, Global Info Analytics. Mr. Dankwa, good evening and thank you for your time.
Good evening and thank you for having me.
Well, maybe AICO would be in order, wouldn't it? Because for the last 2 years and counting, Global Info Analytics, yourself and the team have been picking the thoughts of Ghanaians and surveying, and now we are told that this is the final national poll you are doing. Why would you say it's the final? Because we have still some days to go.
Yeah, thank you very much. We believe that we have enough data as far as the nation is concerned to be able to move to the next phase, which is the modeling of the polls at the various polls we've done, to enable us to give you the final prediction. So we need a week to be able to do that, and that's why we're ending this today. But nevertheless, we'll be doing special polls in certain regions between Friday, and those will come out as and when they're ready.
Right. And from the latest one that we have in front of us, the polls suggest that John Dramani Mahama of the NDC is going to win this election by a one-touch victory, indirectly meaning that when we go to the polls to vote, when all the data is released, John Mahama would have won. There will be no need for runoff. That is what the polls are saying. Is that so?
Yes, and the polls have been saying this for the past 2.5 years. If you have watched the polls and the trend, this has been the number for the past 2.5 years. So we believe strongly that if a trend of 2.5 years has been established, it's not going to change.
Right, and we also do know that the incumbent, that is the NPP, is also just hovering around 40%. The last poll we saw said that about 52% of the respondents said they were going to vote for John Mahama, and about 39 or so, or 41.3 said they will vote for Dr. Bawumia. The figures keep changing, but just about 0.1 or maximum 1%. Could that change? Is there anything mathematically possible that could change going into December 7?
Barring any catastrophe on the part of John or any revelations that may be new that nobody has heard before, the race would not.
And can we also safely say that if the likes of Alan Trematin and Nana Kwame Bediako getting about 4.7% and 2.1%, that is quite substantial. If either of these numbers or percentages are added to either Bawumia or John Mahama, that could either increase the gap or close the gap. Why is how much of an impact are these two having on the two front runners?
If you look at the numbers, Alan Trematin and Nana Kwame Bediako have been much more impact on Bawumia than Mahama. If you compare the, Mahama just lost 0.1% and Bawumia lost at 0.8%. And that 0.8 largely went to Kwame Bediako and others. So if Bawumia drops in the poll, we expect that number to go to Bediako. And that doesn't augur well for his quest to get the race into runoff.
Okay. Maybe my last question to you, Doc, would be that the key concern that many have focused on going into the poll is that of the economy, jobs, education. We realize that the current administration, the NPP, they have changed the key narrative of their campaign, which is that they are focusing on education, saying or trying to drum home the positives of the free senior high school policy. Could that influence voter patterns, considering the fact that former President Kufuor's administration introduced the free maternal, and that's another narrative the NPP is pushing. They introduced the free maternal care where children born around that time are those who are just completed or benefited from the free senior high school and are about to vote. Could that swing the voting pattern in any way?
No. Look, the people are telling us it is the economy and jobs. If you decide to make it education, maternal health, that is not speaking to the concerns of voters. You must speak and express the concerns of top issues, the economy and the job. Education is number 1, and education is unlikely to give you a hope to win. And indeed, if you look at those who say economy is the number 1 issue, they prefer Mahama. Those who say economic job is the number 1 issue, they prefer Mahama. And those who say education is the top issue, again, they prefer Mahama. So we haven't seen any advantage that Bawumia has on the top issues.
All right, Mr. Dankwa, we'll leave it here for now, but certainly you know that we'll be knocking on your doors every now and then as we build up to December 7th. Thank you for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
And we just got off the phone with Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of the Global Info Analytics, a polling institute that have come out with their latest and final national polling, which has placed John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress as the winner of, or a projection that he would win the upcoming elections by a one-touch victory, where in simple terms, he would win by one touch, as we say in our political parlance here in Ghana. And the NPP is likely to go into opposition after the December 7 elections. Let's find out what the NDC makes of this. Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Usman Ayariga, has joined us for a quick chat regarding this poll and several others that have come out in the last few weeks. Mr. Ayariga, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hello, good evening to you, my brother, and good evening to your cherished listeners. And I'm sure some are viewing on Facebook, too, good evening to your cherished viewers.
Right. What does the NDC generally make of these polls that consistently have said that John Mahama is in a comfortable lead and is likely to win by one touch? That actually puts more wind in your sail, right?
I would want to congratulate and thank all well-meaning individuals or institutions who have engaged in credible polls and who continue to engage in that exercise. But be that as it may, that in any way does not reduce the momentum and the speed with which we continue to campaign and preach the good works of the Ghanaian people, or what the Ghanaian people need. We have combed this country. We have listened to the hue and cry of the young people, and we understand that what confronts Ghanaians now, most especially, is the current worst state of the economy that they are experiencing. Ghanaians want jobs. Young people are seeking to make a living for themselves. And that is what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC has been preaching from day one. We have preached about a 24-hour economy that will create jobs and boost the economy. We have preached about creating jobs for young people. We have preached about employing or training 1 million young people in coding. So we are not surprised that every poll that comes out seeks to put the NDC and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ahead of his contender. I think I listened to Mr. Dankwa when he said that what confronts Ghanaians now has to do with the economy. You realize that our main contender, Bawumia, has conveniently escaped the economic debate and now is roaming and making noise about digitization. But what you and I know is that digitization is useless if the economy is not in a good place. Digitization means nothing to an individual who doesn't have a job and doesn't know what he will eat tomorrow. It is when out of the abundance of your pocket, you have a job, you are able to fend for yourself. Then would you think about digitization and how digitization can make your life better? If your life is not good, you cannot think of making your life better. So we plead with Bawumia to come back and let's have the conversation about the economy, which he has failed woefully. And the Ghanaian people believe that they don't expect Bawumia to be able to salvage this economy. And that is why His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is taking a comfortable lead in every opinion poll. So this opinion poll doesn't come as a surprise or as a shock to us. We have combed this country, we have listened to ordinary people, and we continue to be confident that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is going to win this election as we say in our local parlance, one touch.
Right.
And we are also sending this word of caution to any individual or anyone who would want to jeopardize or hinder or in any way try to stall this system or this electoral process that we expect to be peaceful.
Right.
We don't expect anybody to try anything funny. If you try anything funny, you'll be a funny story yourself.
Right, and we also know that the NPP, the incumbent, is leaving no stone unturned. They have canvassed for votes, like you're saying. They have checked almost every box you have indicated that the NDC flag bearer has checked, going around the country, talking to people, small groups, large crowds, etc. It is not going to be a straight win for the NDC. Would you agree? Because there is another poll, or at least two of them that we have cited, that says there is no clear winner, and that is likely to go into a runoff. Does the NDC have this at the back of their minds going into the election?
As I have already stated, we are very confident we are winning this elections one touch. There may be other polls which suggest otherwise.
What's giving you this confidence? What's giving the NDC this much confidence that you are winning it one touch beyond the poll that has been conducted?
Beyond the polls and beyond the policies, there's also what you call the messenger, and that messenger is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Ghanaians believe more in John Dramani Mahama than they believe in Bawumia. Ghanaians do not see Bawumia as a trustworthy person. They do not see Bawumia as an honest politician, and they do not see Bawumia as a man of his own words. So beyond the messaging, beyond the promises, beyond the policies, there's also the key ingredient, that is the messenger, and that is, do Ghanaians believe His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and that he can deliver what he says he will do? And the answer is a definite yes. The other question is, do Ghanaians believe in Bawumia and that he can save Ghanaians and save us from this economic comatose that he himself has supervised and brought us into? The current answer is no. Isn't it intriguing to know that this is the first time a government is campaigning against its own policies? This is the first time a certain government is campaigning. There is no single infrastructure or anything whatsoever for them to commission. This clearly shows that the government hasn't worked. There's nothing to show for the work that they have done. If you remember, it is everywhere His Excellency John Dramani Mahama went. In 2012, everywhere His Excellency John Dramani Mahama went, were either commissioning projects or were commissioning bigger projects. And that is what the citizens expect of an incumbent government. You should be delivering on your promises. Coming back to promise new promises to contradict your already existing promises, saying that I will not do what I am currently doing.
Right.
So Ghanaians are sick and tired of the NPP. That is why the NDC would win these elections in our local parlance, as we see, one touch.
One touch. All right. Osman Nayariga, thank you so much for your time this evening, and we wish you all the best. He is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, and has been sharing his thoughts on the latest poll by Global Info Analytics, which has placed John Mahama in the lead and is likely to win the upcoming elections. You are the one going to vote. You, the one listening to us now, would be going to the polls. What do you make of this poll, and or generally, what are your thoughts on our build up to the major election ahead of us? What would inform your decision to vote for either NDC or NPP, or probably you have a third choice in mind? We'll be happy to hear what you make of this poll and what your thoughts are. This is still Hot Edition on 92.73 FM. Grace will bring us our next story.
Yes, Martin, let's just stay on issues of election, because we know from last week the Electoral Commission began the distribution of election materials to the various regions across the country, and this time it is a turn of the Upper East region, as they have also received their election materials for the upcoming elections. The materials arrived in Bolgatanga today under tight security and have been moved to the Upper East Regional Police Headquarters for storage. My colleague, correspondent Castro Singala, was there and joins us with more. Castro, talk to us about the distribution process and how these materials were received.
Right, Grace. I am still at the Upper East Regional Police Headquarters here in Bolgatanga, where the truck carrying the consignment of election materials has arrived. Behind me, I can clearly see that the bags have been put on the ground, offloaded from the vehicle and put on the ground. And EC officials in the presence of political party agents are going through each bag of, that contain election materials for each of the 15 constituencies in the Upper East region to ensure that the serial numbers do match and the content of the bags also do match with the serial numbers. We understand that shortly after that, the election materials will be moved into the armory of the headquarters where they'll be safely stored for, future use. We also understand that after that, padlocks from the various political parties would be used to secure the entrance of this armory so that there wouldn't be any infiltration whatsoever. Great.
Kasho, did you say armory? That should give us a sense of high security and protection of these materials.
Right. So the understanding we are getting is that this is a crucial election. And so the EC is working very diligently to ensure that there is no compromise as far as the election materials are concerned. And for that matter, it is working with the security agencies, state security agencies, that is the police, to ensure that the election materials are safe. In the Upper East region, there really haven't been issues, but that should not be a bias for the EC and its stakeholders not to do the right thing. And for that matter, they want to ensure. And so as I stand here, I see a lot of vehicles of the various political parties. I see agents. In fact, there's one agent here. If you wouldn't mind, I'll grab him and then he'll say a few words with us. I have one agent. Gentlemen, I salute you. Yeah. I can see you branded in MPP colors. Yes, so quickly. You've been here since the election materials arrived. Yeah. And you've been part of the process. I've seen you in there and then out there walking up and down. What have been your impressions so far, speaking to TV3 and then 3 FM?
In fact, I am from Zebula constituency. I'm the constituency youth organizer. And I was assigned to take place for the Zebula constituency. And I finished packaging my tin, locking it, processing it, and putting it in the place that is very safe, waiting for the D-Day. So I will come back and verify, and then we'll take it to Zebula. So I'm done with my constituency, and I'm leaving.
Okay, we are pressed for time. You are pressed for time, but are you satisfied with the process so far?
Oh, it was very good.
And are you okay where they are putting storing the material?
Yes, we are very, very fine with it because they have assured us that there will be security 24/7 till the D-Day.
Comparing this to 4 years ago, what would you say this experience is, or how today?
Well, 4 years ago, I was in a constituency executive, so there were other people who represented us. Okay. This year, I have to be here. I think this is the first process I've gone through, though I've gone through the processes through the party. Okay. They have taken us through all the study, and we know how to go by it. That's why I represented the constituency to come and then verify it and go back to the constituency.
Please, your name again?
I'm Akumbo Samuel Wakiki, constituency youth organizer, MPP, Zebula constituency.
All right, so Grace, you just heard it from, that's one of the party agents who was here, moving through the bags of papers, election materials rigorously to ensure that everything is done the right way. And according to him, he's impressed with how far the process has been. In fact, his constituency has been done and dealt with, and for that matter, he is about to leave. But the other constituencies are still, party agents and that of the EC are still running through some of the constituencies. And we have 15. I understand that we are on number 6. And so we still have a lot more to go. Back to you, Grace.
All right. Castro, thank you for bringing us those updates. Let's go to the Ashanti region because we know the region has also received the consignment of elections. Ibrahim Abubakar has been to the receiving point and joins us with more. Ibrahim, what more can you tell us about the distribution process so far?
Well, it's been done smoothly. So far, the various constituencies, some have already left, others are also still picking their voting materials to their various constituencies. Now, initially, there were some concerns about where the materials will be kept. A room was proposed and NDC opposed to it, saying it wasn't adequate, but eventually they had to change the room and send the materials to where they were kept in the 2020 election. And then secondly, when it comes to our Krofom constituency, what the EC was doing is that they look at the total registered voters of every constituency, look at the number and add 2% of the materials to it, so that in an event some is destroyed or something like that, they will be able to fix it. But then when it came to Akrofom, they checked and realized that even though 26,126 had registered voters, when they checked the leaflets, they realized one of the book had 36 of its leaflets out. So initially there were protests, but eventually they all came to consensus, put everything on paper, and allowed those documents to go. So the parties say they are satisfied with the turnout so far, but the issue is that both the NDC and MPP have decided that they will also allow some of their people to remain at the police station and monitor the materials until the election day. But they said that has been done in consultation with the police, and the police had agreed that since they also have an interest in the materials, there wouldn't be any issue of also getting their men around, so that they will ensure that everything is being done in a transparent manner.
Right, so stay with us. Let us listen to what the parties are saying, and then we come back to you.
We are okay with the police administration taking custody of that. But from my experience, since 2016, although it will be in the custody of the police administration, we've always kept our men guarding as well. So we are not afraid of anything. We have men who will be here 24 hours policing the premises with the permission of the police administration.
We checked everything. Everything was intact. We will bring our internal security to protect the ballot papers. So on the 5th or 6th, that the ballot will go back to the various constituencies.
So you have the Ashanti Regional NPP Secretary Adom Apia and also the Ashanti Regional NDC Secretary Andrews Nanakwesi. Ibrahim, so let our viewers know how these materials were received. Did they come in one big container, or they came in the black bags that we see the ECUs with the names of every constituency on it? Let us know how they came.
Okay, so the materials arrived in 5 different trucks, and we had agents or representatives of the various political parties tracing the materials from the headquarters to the Ashanti region or the police depot where they were brought. In fact, for the NDC, they even decided to do live feeding so that their people will know what is happening on the road from Accra to this place. So when they open, they have the segregation. Each constituency has its name tag on its materials. They have to open, count, make sure that everything is intact before they hand it over to the constituency officials to send it to the various constituencies. And each constituency, to the parties, had their representative following the EC officials to the place. So basically, it wasn't any Herculean tax. They just brought it, and the distribution has been done.
And you said the NDC was doing a live stream of the entire process.
Exactly. From headquarters in Accra to Kumasi, they were doing the live
From the EC head office to Kumasi, they were streaming the entire process live.
Exactly, because they were also in a bus, in a different car, following the consignment to Kumasi. Maybe there were trust issues, but they, at the end of the day, they wanted to clear their mind and make sure that the consignment leaves Accra and gets to its destination without any issues attached to it.
So we know that the Upper Eastern Regional Police Command is where they are keeping the materials for the Upper East region. Do we know where they're keeping yours for the Ashanti region?
Well, for the Ashanti region, they are keeping it at the police depot, and that's the police training school. In fact, over the past or the previous elections, this is where they've been keeping them, and this is where the police too are. So it's safe there, at least, judging by what's happening in the previous election, and all the parties are now satisfied with where the materials have been sent to. So they are also just monitoring or policing, and they said they only leave the place, their representatives will leave the place on December 7 when all the materials have been deployed to the various polling centers.
All right, Ibrahim, thank you so much for bringing us those updates. My colleague in the Ashanti region updating us on how the region is also receiving their electoral materials according to the EC schedule. So, Martin, for the benefit of those who are listening to us in the regions that are yet to receive their electoral materials, let me quickly run us through the schedule the EC put out and which regions are receiving next after the Ashanti and the Upper East region. So, we know the exercise began on Thursday, November 14, with the Greater Accra region. And then it went to the Central, Western, Savannah, Upper West on Friday. And Saturday, the Ashanti, Ahafo, and Western North were supposed to receive, but we have been told the Ashanti is receiving today. And then on Sunday, Eastern, Upper East, Northeast, we are also told Upper East is just receiving today. And so Monday, Northing and Bono, East and Bono were supposed to receive today. We're yet to check with our correspondents if they have received. And then the exercise is expected to end tomorrow. That is November 19 with the Volta and Oti region. So for those in the Volta and Oti regions, they're expected to receive theirs tomorrow, even as the EC wraps up the distribution of ballot papers for the upcoming election.
Thank you very much. And it's also instructive to note that the EC had to recall the Ahafo and Volta region ballots, which they say had some serial number challenges, and that they were going to reprint those. So it means that there is a likelihood there might be a slight delay for these two regions, Ahafo region and the Volta region, but I will definitely update our listeners as and when all of that becomes known from the officers of the Electoral Commission. You're still listening to Hot Edition on 92.73 FM is the station. We are live around the world on 3news.com. Big stories we have for you this evening. The minority in Parliament is demanding an immediate arrest of the chief executive of Lament Ventures, the company allegedly implicated in the supply of expired rice to some senior high schools across the country. Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff, Akosua Frema Osei Opare, has described the expired rice as a mere propaganda meant to discredit the government. And this is quite serious coming from a top government official like the Chief of Staff. Also, you just heard the big story about the NDC's presidential candidate, John Mahama, on course to win a one-touch victory in the upcoming elections. And that's according to the latest poll from Global Info Analytics, who say they have enough data to follow and to show that the NDC candidate has a brighter chance of winning the December 7 elections. We also just got off the phones with two of our correspondents confirming that the EC materials or the election materials, especially the ballot booklets, have arrived in their various regions. And in subsequent bulletins, we'll also let you know which other regions have received theirs and whether or not there are some issues of concern that you need to know about. I'm here with Grace Hammoah Agyemang. I am Martin Asiedu. Let's go on to some other stories we have for you this evening, this time around to labor-related subjects, because members of the Teachers and Education Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress, TEWU of TUC, have begun an indefinite nationwide strike effective today. TEWU members are unhappy with the prolonged delay in concluding, signing and implementing revised conditions of service for its workers. The strike comes despite a request by the National Labour Commission for the union to hold on pending a scheduled meeting with the Commission on Wednesday. The industrial action is expected to affect operations of some institutions under the Ghana Education Service, the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board, and public technical and tertiary universities. King James Azoteba is General Secretary of the Teachers of the General Secretary of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEU. He's joined us for a quick chat on this. Mr. Azontiba, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yeah, good evening. How are you and your listeners?
Very well, thank you. In your earlier notice, you indicated failure to conclude and implement the revised conditions of service is the reason why you have decided to start your strike today. Can you expand on that for us? What exactly did you mean by that?
What exactly we meant by that our members feel very, very seriously slanted, feel very, very, very discriminated. And then we think that founds on both the Constitution of Ghana and the Labour Act. And therefore, our members are saying this is not the first time. We have on different occasions in 2002 where similar case happened, and then we had to call off the strike immediately, just like we are going through. And our members say they are not going to accept that. And so they are decided to lay down their tools and then wait for us to come out with an amicable solution.
And I'm sure you've been trying to engage government or the key institutions that need to work with you. What, in your estimation, is causing this delay in the negotiation and implementation of the conditions?
Yeah, given today's action, in fact, after our ultimatum last week, Friday, we had a letter from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission inviting us to come for us to begin the rules of engagement towards a negotiation. And today we went, and it was a serious, inconclusive meeting because they came unprepared. They came without any mandate. They came just to kind of frustrate us, playing the same old games with us that they have evidence that we are on strike, and therefore, because we are on strike, they cannot continue to negotiate. They excused themselves for caucus and came back and said, because we are on strike, if we don't call off the strike, they will not continue with the rules of engagement. And we felt that was a serious bad note. They are the same people who have been writing reminders of letters to all the time. They have refused to call us for a meeting, only for us to call an ultimatum that today we will embark on strike. And we don't just get up and sit there and say we are going on strike. We go through a series of meetings of our various structures. People agree, people disagree, people give justifiable reasons why they feel they better go on the street than to sit down and continue to suffer. Come to talk about it, the condition of service is the totality of the employee's contract with the employer. And we are using 2020 terms for people who are going on retirement in 2024. We are using 2020 terms for various categories of allowances for our members. The government has introduced a new free SHS with high intake. Our members in the kitchens, various senior high school kitchens, sometimes cook with fuel. They get snake bites. One of the kitchen metros are telling us that almost every month a kitchen staff dies.
That's quite serious.
They don't get any risk allowance. They don't get any overtime allowance. No motivation is given to them.
Yes, but is it that all of these key concerns you have raised have already been raised with the leadership of, for instance, the so who are you negotiating with? Is it the Ghana Education Service, or who exactly are you bringing these concerns to? And if you raise them, what do they say?
We do it with our immediate employer is the Director General Ghana Education. When we are dealing with the Ghana Education Service, when we come to the universities, we deal with the Ghana Tertiary Council. When we come to the library board, the executive directors are there, and the museum is the same. And so they are all aware. Even the Labour Commission, where they have invited us for a meeting on Wednesday, we'll go. They even have cause to write to our employers and the fair wages that they should try to sit down with us. What hurts most is that they are able to sit with the teachers, teacher unions in the Ghana Education Service and has signed their condition of service and is being implemented. What prevents them from signing ours? The 1992 Constitution of Ghana frowns on discrimination.
Right.
The Labour Act frowns on discrimination. Why are they doing that to us? You come to the universities, they sign conditions of service for the UTAC, the lecturers. They sign for the senior members. Why are they discriminating against us? We would rather that are the vulnerable. Why are they doing that?
And I'm suspecting that your membership cuts across all tertiary institutions. Is that the case?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
My next question then is, you just indicated that the Labour Commission is asking for a meeting tomorrow. I'm sure that has come to your attention. Would you be attending the meeting? What are your expectations ahead of the meeting?
Oh, we know they are they are well aware of our frustrations. We have respected the Labour commissions over all these years. Anytime we call on a strike, they just come out with a letter and we call off the strike. And things go to sleep. And so that has brought us to this level. And so we expect them to talk to the Fair Wages and Salaries Committee, to talk to our employers, to take to their work serious and make sure that they don't discriminate against workers. We still see this as a serious discrimination against the non-teaching staff, the education support personnel in the various educational sector. We are a key source of the educational chain. We contribute massively towards the successful free SHS that the government is claiming glory for.
Okay.
We think we are not being treated fairly.
Right. Right. Thank you for drawing our attention to this. And as you have commenced the strike and you have a meeting tomorrow, we'll see how all of this plays out as you are yet to meet with the National Labour Commission. Thank you for your time. We've been engaging King James Azoteba, who is the General Secretary of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEWU. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7, and we are going on to some other stories now. Well, still on this though, let's find out from the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission what his immediate thoughts are on the strike by TEWU members. Honorable Ofosua Samoa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yes, good afternoon.
Right. To start with, I'm sure the concerns of the TEWU members has come to your attention. First of all, they say that consistently, anytime their issue comes up, they are only told to call off the strike and return to work. But this time around, they do not want to do that until something concrete comes up. What are your thoughts on the fact that they say their issues are not being given priority?
Well, we received a letter from them dated the 14th of November, which is last Friday, expressing concern and their intention to embark on an industrial action that is an indefinite strike from today, Monday. And their reason was that their conditions of service negotiation has delayed. So we also acknowledge receipts and accordingly route to them. And the very agencies they are complaining against, that is the Ghana Education Service, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ghana Museum and Monuments Board, Ghana Library Board, and the registrars of the public and technical universities. You know, they are supposed to be negotiating their conditions of salaries with them. But you see, this issue came before the commission some time ago, where they threatened strike. So when they appeared before the commission, both of them were heard. And at the end of the day, they agreed and wrote back to the commission on the 14th of October. Sorry, 15th, yeah. They wrote on 14th October and received it on the 15th. Suspending the strike action which they intended to at the time, which is exactly a month ago. And their reason for that was, one, that due to the progress in negotiation with government on our concerns, we call on all our members in the public and technical universities to resume work. We want to trust the continued cooperation and goodwill of the government, which will lead to a permanent solution of our concerns. 3, we agree with government's call for further dialogue to resolve our outstanding Tier 2 payments. This was after they have appeared before the commission, and the commission had directed them to, go ahead with dialogue. And this was there so that after they appeared before the commission in October, they agreed that they were calling off the strike and that negotiations were going on in this. Now, between the 14th of October and today is 1 month. Now, GES also wrote to us after this that after this letter, and their letter is dated 30th October, and the title is Delay in Negotiation of Conditions of Service for Table Members in Ghana Education Service. They acknowledge our letter, which we wrote to them on the 15th of October on the above matter. And then they say that we wish to inform you that negotiations on the conditions of service are ongoing with the Ghana Education Service. That's commenced ongoing. And 2 meetings have been held. You see, so that between the 14th October, where they suspended the strike because of the Afin government's commitment, additional 2 meetings have been held. As to when they were held, it has not been fitted. But the belief is that if the commission has directed you to engage, and that your employers are engaging you, because earlier they were not, and for that you threatened strike, the commission directed that they engage you. And the dialogue is going on as at 30th October. If there is anything that has gone wrong or any delay, one will ordinarily expect that they will then write to the commission or inform the commission that you directed that we negotiate. Negotiations started. We saw government's commitment, so we called off the strike. But government is now dragging its feet.
Yeah, but Mr. Samoa,
please,
Mr. Samoa.
One minute.
Okay.
Then the commission will then intervene. But without any notice, then you write to us on the 14th. We received this letter close to 5 p.m. when we were just about closing on Friday. And on Monday, you have declared strike, knowing very well that if we could make any intervention at all, it cannot be on the Saturday and on Sunday. Now, to declare strike, everybody has the right to declare strike. But the law enjoins you, right, that you serve notice under Section 159 of not less than 7 days.
Okay, but Mr. Samoa, sorry for butting in because of time. We may have to truncate.
Have you met the 7 days?
No, but the point I wanted to find out from you was that, I mean, should it be our understanding that the National Labour Commission only brings these key players to the table and you are not part of the conversation where, like you're indicating, when they have issues, they leave instead of drawing your attention to it?
You see, we settle cases as if you went to the court, you send your case to the court, and then the judge comes to sit. And the judge says, oh, I think you can settle. And then you agree that, oh, yes, we are going to settle. And then you come and tell the court that, oh, the settlement is going on, as we wrote on the 14th. If at a point in time it's not going on, you go to the court and inform the judge, but you don't instruct. So that if things, you told us things are going on well.
Right.
We are not party to the negotiation. So that all we are sitting back is that we expect that you settle and inform us that it is settled. So that if it is not settled at a point in time because there's delay or feet dragging, you call the attention of the commission, then the commission will settle.
Okay.
But you wait and want to declare strike. If you want to declare strike, yes, you may go ahead. But the law says that if you want to declare strike, give the commission 7 days notice and give notice 7 days to your employers. They wrote to us on Friday at 4 p.m. and on Monday morning you are on strike. Have you met the 7 days?
Okay, they haven't. And we'll see. I'm told you have a meeting with them tomorrow.
If the commission does anything to restrain you because you are not complying with the law, then you say the commission is doing government business, the commission is doing this. The law is there, 159. And whoever is in leadership in Tewu has been there and belongs to the union for not less than 20 years. And all of them have been reading this same law you and I have been reading, and I'm quoting here.
Right.
But how can you just write to us on Friday evening and declare strike on Monday?
We'll see what the outcome of the meeting on Wednesday will be.
Let us appeal to them to return work and allow the commission to assist in the settlement of the issue. That is the only appeal I can make. I am appealing to them. They have genuine concerns. And certainly the commission will help them to get what is due them. So I am appealing to them.
We thank you for your time this evening, Honorable Ofosu Asamoah. He is the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, asking Tewu members who are currently on strike to return whilst negotiations are ongoing. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition, and time now for the latest in the world of business. Thank you for staying. Michael Ogbodu will be joining us shortly to let us know what's happening in the world of business. And we would also bring you the latest in the world of sports. And for those of you who are following, you know that the Black Stars of Ghana are playing their Nigerian counterparts in what seems to be the final of the AFCON qualifiers. Unfortunately, as we speak, it looks as though the Black Stars are losing by 2-1. Hopefully, by the time sports comes up, the results would have changed. Hopefully. All right, Michael joins us with the latest in the world of business. Stay.
And hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming out tonight, Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana calls for audit of the Ministry of Agriculture's proposed $64 million grain silo project. I am Michael Ogbodu. Details coming up shortly. Stay. Thank you so much for your time. And the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana has raised concerns over the $64 million price tag for the government's proposed 60,000-ton grain silo project announced by the sector minister, Brian Agyemang. According to Executive Director Bismarck Owusu-Norte, the association's analysis suggests that the same project can be constructed with approximately $25 million. In an interview with 3 Business, he emphasized the need for a thorough audit to ensure value for money.
General estimates that was done by one of our technical people revealed that, give and take, we shouldn't be spending more than $25 million on such a facility. And look at what the other costs that will come up. But here's the case where there's a budget of about $60 million, which will show we need to do a proper audit and proper value for money analysis to find out what went into that calculation and how come we arrived at that particular amount. So that's an issue that I think that maybe Parliament or whoever should be very interested in, so that we know that we are not being shortchanged as a country. Ideally, it will not be out of place if you could have such a facility across the country, where even every region should have a silo.
That was Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Bismarck Owusu-Norte. A senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA, and a sustainability activist, Dr. Eric Asiedu, is urging the government to support Ghanaian households in constructing biogas systems for domestic use. This call to action is prompted by the significant rise in liquefied petroleum gas LPG prices from 5 cedis 92 pesos a kilogram in January 2021 to 18.61 Ghana cedis in November 2024, representing an over 214% increase. This surge has sparked concerns among consumers and undermines the government's climate change mitigation efforts. Dr. Yadom warns that the situation may worsen due to global petroleum price fluctuations and the cedi depreciation, emphasizing that homemade biogas systems could safeguard consumers.
Since July, there has been an upward increase in the in the price of LPG on the global market, and this is informing how these commodities or LPG is priced in Ghana, and coupled with the cost of producing LPG in Ghana going up, we expect this cost of production of LPG to continually reflect in the consumer prices as well. So the way forward, I think that government should find a way to support households to construct their self-service home biogas. These models are tested in Fiji. In Fiji, most households have their own biogas system that produce the biogas that they use for their cooking needs. This will reduce the reliance on the national LPG, and generally, it will not force households to go back to the use of firewood.
That was senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA, and a sustainability activist, Dr. Eric Boakye Yadom speaking. Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has emphasized the need for stronger regulations in the insurance sector to promote public trust. Speaking at the West African Insurance Companies Association 2024 Education Conference in Accra on behalf of the sector minister, Director of Financial Sector Division at the Ministry of Finance, Samson Akligo, highlighted the sector's challenges with trust among the general public. He stressed that proper regulation is crucial to ensure transparency and build trust. The conference, themed Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Insurance in the Sub-Region, brought together industry stakeholders to discuss innovative solutions and strategies for growth.
Stronger regulation is important for market confidence, and it's also important for the consumers of the insurance products to know that when they put their resources into these products and they need a claim, they'll be protected. It's also giving them confidence that the companies in the industry are resilient and robust. It's not an easy thing, but it is important that we do all we can to make sure that the regulators are ahead in making sure that the industry remains stable and in making sure that consumers are protected. That is the only way that the long-term viability of the industry and at the same time the impact that the industry would need to have on the consumers is safeguarded. And I think that from the government side, we have been doing all we can in supporting the regulator.
And that was the Director of the Financial Sector Division at the Ministry of Finance, Samson Akligo, bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next, sports.
Welcome back. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Just gone by was business with Michael Obudu. Oreku is here in the studio to bring us the latest in the world of sports. Well, Oreku, I am sad. I am devastated. I know Niger of all countries beat us 2-1. How did that happen to us?
I think if you needed a summary of how the qualifying series has been, this was perhaps the game that would show you. I feel it was a mix of unpreparedness, a mix of maybe being unlucky, and then at the end of the day, probably not being good enough. We've seen all of these traits in the 6 games that we've played. And guess what? It's the first time in the history of the Black Stars since we started playing football, so many years ago, that we've played a group phase qualifiers for an AFCON and Ghana didn't win a game. So in fact, Ghana were in a group with Angola, Sudan, and Niger. And Otuado himself said that there's still pride left to play for, although they were not going to qualify for the AFCON no matter what happened today, and said that there was still 3rd place to play for. Even with that, the team still couldn't win a game and ended up bottom in a group with Angola, Sudan, and Niger. I don't think there's any indication better, more pronounced than this to let you know how significant the fall has been. And the scariest part is that it's not a sudden fall that you would say, oh, something just went off this year.
Yeah.
Or from 2021 AFCON, we couldn't make it past the group stage. We didn't win a game. The next AFCON, we couldn't make it past the group stage. We didn't win a game. This time, it's even the prelude. It's not even the AFCON itself. Before the AFCON, we couldn't win a game. Look at the pattern. We're not winning games, we're not winning games. It's not even like you're not qualifying. You're not winning games. You need to win at least 3 or 4 games to qualify. And we're not even winning one. It's very disappointing.
It is.
And the rate at which Ghana has fallen, you wonder, what next? What can be lower than finishing bottom of your group qualifiers? I can't even think of what genuinely can be worse than this.
This is so embarrassing. I mean, what is AFCON without Ghana, without the Black Stars? And then here we are, and there's AFCON and there's no Black Stars. So where do we go from here? I heard the coach saying that, well, even though we have not qualified, we need to play. And I mean, what happens to us from here? Where do we go from here?
I think it would be a long ride because the next international break is in March.
Okay.
And so it means we'll probably have to wait about 4 months to see the national team in action again. It's a lot of time, but then again, time is what Ghana needs at the moment to be able to ensure that they are fully prepared. Yeah, I think 4 months is enough, especially if you want to change your coach.
We, the supporters, don't have time.
Oh, yeah,
we don't have time for all of these back and forth and goalless matches and all of that. We don't have time.
I think it's really, really disappointing, and it's a bad state to be in. But then again, at least there is that slight glimmer of hope for the World Cup that if Ghana are able to make a few changes. Thankfully for the World Cup, Ghana has won some games. So they've won 2 there. And so they have 7 points so far and are joint top of the group.
Okay.
So there is some hope there. But then again, it feels like a long time ago when Ghana won those matches in the World Cup qualifiers. It doesn't inspire any confidence heading into March that things would change. If you remember, the only reason why we went for the World Cup in Qatar was because after that disastrous campaign that we had in the Africa Cup of Nations under Chris Hughton, we managed to quickly turn things around.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was Milovan Raivac in Cameroon. And then we quickly changed the coach and we brought in Otuado with George Boateng, Chris Hughton as technical director, and then Didi Dramani. And they quickly assembled a team together, put up a strategy, and we got a draw against Nigeria and we qualified for the World Cup. Is that type of radical change that perhaps the team might need if they want to save their chances of perhaps qualifying for the next World Cup? That's the only positive that can potentially come out to the national team in the next year.
Talking about change now, it looks like everybody's pointing figures at first, changing the coach, and then maybe changing Keto Kweku, which I think his own has to do with the constitution of the GFA and him serving his term and all. But changing the coach, does it look like we're going to do that anytime soon?
Otto himself didn't look like a coach who is about to leave. You know, he was talking about using this game as a friendly match to prepare for the World Cup qualifiers next year. So he didn't sound like someone who has been told he would leave his job or has any hints that he perhaps was going to leave his job. And you could tell from how his body language before the game today, he was all smiles. Even when Jerry Fie scored, he ran onto the pitch to hug and kiss him. So I don't know what the
and it even tells you that he himself needed the guys to score.
Yeah, he needed that goal.
Yes,
he needed that goal. And I don't know what the communication has been with him, but from his body language and the things that he said, I don't think he's close to a sack.
Okay.
And that's probably because it would take a lot to sack him at the moment. I think the GFA are probably at a crossroads because their pride is on the line here. They vouched for this man. They said he was the man about to transform Ghana football. They've not, in the history of this FA, they've never given any coach a 3+1 contract.
Okay.
Essentially communicating that was a long-term project, potentially 4 years. They've never given any coach that. After reviewing the process for the next coach of Ghana, a process which Mark Addo, who is the vice president of the FA, said that it was very thorough because they had about 500 applicants.
Okay.
After reviewing all of those applications, they said Otuado was the best.
Tall.
He stood out. He was so good. It wasn't even close.
Out of the 500 applicants.
Yes. And so if this is your best pick, and in just 8 months you are coming to sack him, then you see there's something wrong. And this FA have proved over the years and months that they don't like to own up, accept responsibility, apologize. And so they don't want to hurt their pride by sacking him just 8 months after they swore to the whole world this guy was the best.
Praise and all.
Yes. That's the first one. The second one is that the ministry itself hasn't finished paying the coaches that they've been sacked under Kets. Remember that Kets sacked Kwesi Appiah.
Yes.
Went for Sika Akono, sacked him. Went for Milovan Rajevac, sacked him. Went for Chris Hutton, sacked him. Went for Otuado, he resigned. And then we went for Otuado again. And so, by Otuado who resigned, all of these coaches that I mentioned, when you give them a contract, 2 years, 3 years, you have to pay them for the rest of their years to be able to sack them. And so, they've not even finished paying some of the coaches. Sika Akono has publicly stated a number of times that he's still not been finished paid. He's still not finished receiving his salary from, being Black Stars head coach. And we're not even talking about assistant coaches who have also been sacked and lost their jobs.
It means that
and so
if
the ministry,
now,
we have to pay him. And remember, it's been we gave him a 3+1, and so he has about 2 years left. So we would have to essentially pay him for 2 more years. And then you're going to bring a new coach that you have to pay to do the job. And so maybe the ministry are not ready to do that. So that's probably a second reason why they might not sack Otto. But the third thing is that I just think the pressure would be too much. It would be too much that the FA has to react one way or the other. Usually what they do is that they feed the coach to the dogs. And so they'll say they've set up a committee, blah, 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 blah. They're going to do investigations. At the end of the day, all they do is sack the coach, bring a new coach.
And they think that solves all our problems. Okay, it
hasn't worked in about 3-4 times. So we would see what the decision is. They say they have a meeting, ESCO meeting on Wednesday, to inquire about this disastrous campaign.
Okay.
So we'll see what the outcome will be.
We'll see what the outcome will be. Oreku, thank you for bringing us those details on the Black Stars match. I know Martin is equally not happy because he's like the one-man supporter of the Black Stars when it comes to this house. And so, Martin, we wish you all the best. It's unfortunate the Black Stars have disappointed you again, but 2-1 is better than 2-0.
So. I don't even know where to start, but hopefully we scrap all of this and start afresh. It is the passion of the nation, and they cannot be toying with our emotions.
How long are we going to start afresh every day?
No, this is the last start afresh. Okay. Last of the last. Yeah. To start afresh.
All right, this is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Oreku just gone by with the update in the world of sports. Let's do some more stories. And more than 300 enrolled nurses from the 2020 year group across the country on Monday stormed the premises of the Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate over government failure to engage them after going through due procedure. Let's engage Swale Mubarak. He's the Vice President, Graduate Unemployed Nurses and Midwives Association. Swale, what briefing has the association received regarding some unemployed nurses who became stranded at the Adabraka Polyclinic?
Okay, good evening, madam, and good evening to your listeners out there. So, point of correction here. The members went there to commence the process of placement as communicated by the Ghana Health Service on the 12th of this month. So it was not a protest to register their displeasure against the delayed employment by the government. On the 12th of this month, that's just a week ago, the Ministry of Health, through the Ghana Health Service, issued a communique to the effect that members could go with their documents and certificates to their respective regions of their choice to be selected and placed so that the postings to be selected and placed to their respective regions of their choice. And that was the exercise that was supposed to have happened today. Unfortunately, the exercise was marred with so many skirmishes across the length and breadth of the country. The skirmishes was not only limited to Greater Accra. We recorded incidents similar incidents in Ashanti region, same in other region, Eastern Central, and so many other regions where members from the place, but unfortunately had to be turned away because they were told the quota for those specific regions had been exhausted.
What happens from here? What is the way forward for the association?
So we tried engaging the Ministry of Health today, and several calls were even placed to the Ghana Health Service Directorate. Unfortunately, they've not been able to attend to us. What we are picking is that some other regions still have slots where members could opt to work under. And so now our focus is to compile the data of all the affected individuals, probably request for an engagement or meeting with the Ministry of Health tomorrow. And by extension, we want to meet with the Ghana Health Service so that at least the process can be smooth in the day two of the exercise.
How long was this exercise expected to last?
So the schedule as released by the Ghana Health Service was supposed to have the enrolled nurses attended to today and tomorrow. Wednesday is the turn of a different group altogether, and that's the public health nurses and public and community health nurses. So the exercise will end on Friday, but different cadres will be attended to on each day. So on Wednesday, we're supposed to have community health and registered community health nurses. And on Thursday, we're supposed to have registered general nurses and midwives and registered mental health nurses. And on Friday, we should have nursing and midwifery officers going through the same exercise. So I anticipate that going forward, these challenges should not be recorded. We expect the Ghana Health Service to put in measures to at least, if we are able to record such instances, it shouldn't be at the rates we have recorded today.
All right, Swale, thank you for talking to us. We're wishing you and the members all the best. Swale Mubarak is Vice President, Graduates, Unemployed Nurses and Midwives Association.
This is still 3FM 92.7, and to some other stories. This time around, we are hitting the campaign trail, and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has promised to remove taxes on mobile phone imports when voted into power. Addressing party supporters at Inshaeso in the Ashanti region, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said that the removal of the taxes will ensure that Ghanaians purchase the phones at an affordable price. He promised the people and all Ghanaians of reducing data and removing taxes on the purchase of mobile phones. Earlier, the NPP flag bearer informed the constituents of Inshaeso of constructing a railway line from Accra through to the northern part of the country as part of his promises when he is given the nod on December 7.
So, minim say, when you be up a mobile phone, maybe for mobile phone prices, no, abba form, no taxes on mobile phone import. We are bringing down the import duty. We are eliminating the import duty on mobile phones so that mobile phones, no buono, ebeba form, amamo, and also the cost of data. We are going to bring down the cost of data, for our youth. Now wait to make you calls. Choboy.
And I'm sure the many people who had gathered there would respond, boy or hey. Right, now he goes on to say that the railway that he intends to construct, if he is given the nod, will improve transport and businesses across the country.
The best way you bet me mobilizing resources no na a rail transport. Me person make focus in my term on just a few rail lines from Accra, Tema, Kumasi to Paga. That central line, no, is very important. Your iron ore and all of that, because that line no back. Buankra port in Kumasi will not be effective. You hear rail line from Accra to Kumasi to make Buankra effective. So Accra, Kumasi, Paga is a very, very important one. Then Kumasi to Takoradi, we take the Western line. Another major one, we have so much gold and other resources in that belt. There's also Agyemang to Eduarding. That is another liner, and then Awaso through Nyinahene to Eduarding, and no bauxite resources no in Nyinahene and all those places. So these are the key lines during my term. Me pese me the investors ba na yenye emma Ghana mine to transform Ghana in terms of economic activity. Memuru subenya ijuma bebri aye mini yumat for akasa na kajro mo say yes ijuma. I want all the materials, the steel, the concrete to be made in Ghana.
And that is the NPP's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the sitting vice president there, still in the Ashanti region, where he's been campaigning for almost 10 to 11 or 12 days. It looks as though there is good reason behind why the MPP would be at its home region and campaigning vigorously. Probably it is to attain the 85% they have promised themselves going into the December 7 elections. Still in the Ashanti region, though, in the face of rising global tensions, Ghana is... well, before I come to that story, let's find out what the CPP has also been saying. Now, the Convention People's Party is asking Ghanaian electorates to give it a chance to bring the country back on track in achieving a development status. Presidential candidate of the CPP, Nana Frimpoma Sapon Kumankuma, says the party is committed to empowering the youth and women to achieve economic prosperity. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar has been following her campaign tour and has joined us for a quick conversation on this. Ibrahim, good evening. Thank you for joining us. We know what the NPP and NDC look like when they hit town. What can you tell us about the CPP? Do they have as much following, and do they bring that kind of euphoria that we see during these rallies and political activities?
Martin, they're also attracting some numbers, but not compared to what NDC and MPP is attracting. In fact, today when their presidential candidate taught some market, she was given some rousing welcome by the market woman. She also went to Swami and the same thing. But in terms of numbers, you realize that it's not that much. But for them, they are just going down to the people to engage them. You know, the Convention People's Party launched their manifesto just last Thursday. So it's now that they are taking that step to go and engage people one-on-one, so that they will be able to tell them what they have in stock for them. In fact, it's not only the CPP. Today in Ashanti region, campaign activity has been very, very busy because as we speak, we also have Alan Kojo Tremantin, who is still touring some areas. Then you talk about Dr. Bawumia, then some national leadership of the NDC also here. Then we have CPP. And like you said, maybe because of the 3.2 million votes, almost everybody wants to grab his share from the 3.2 million votes in Ashanti region. So everybody appears to have intensified the campaign here. But for CPP, they believe that they have what it takes to turn things back to normalcy, because currently they claim when you look at the economic hardship, almost everyone is suffering. So it is the time for Ghanaians to break the duopoly, that's the NDC and MPP, and give CPP a chance so that they will get some form of relief when it comes to their economy or the country's development. The presidential candidate, Nana Frimpong Sapon Kumankama, has been speaking briefly with me. Let's listen to it.
Unfortunately. Yes, so Ibrahim Abubakar is our reporter speaking to us there. Let's find out what exactly the CPP presidential candidate has been saying as she's also busily touring the Ashanti region.
It is very clear that the women of this country have gotten enough. They know clearly that where the nation is moving them is not the best, and the youth as well. So for us, our policy of the Women's Manifesto, that is focusing on industries, making sure that we bring back the industries to Ghana, because that is what it is. We are going to make sure that every farmer is empowered. Just as we buy the cocoa, once you plant your produce, whether it is your plantain, your cassava, your okra, AgroSure will buy from you. All these, what they call 30% post-harvest losses are going to be a thing of the past under the Convention People's Party. So we are going to use the Ghanaian produce to set up basic systems, industries that would feed us, and then be able to export. This is the Asiedu Party. This is the Convention People's Party. We are there for the welfare of people. We are there for the developmental agenda of the people. Basic. And that is what we are doing. Number 7, the woman in the middle. The only woman. Obana. Monswabano. Na Oba Enfa. Enipa Yie. Enipa Ehudo. Emma Mebu Omino. Ne Mino. Enye Emma Yenina.
So you just heard the voice of the CPP flag bearer Nana Frimpong Sapon Kumankuma, who is also in the Ashanti region canvassing for votes. So if you are there in the region, considering the level of political activities in the region, where are you likely to vote? Which specific party are you voting for? We used to have 2 women on the ballot paper following the demise of Madam Ekiadonko of the Ghana Freedom Party. It means we have only 1 woman in this year's election. Where would your vote go? Would you consider the gender disparity, looking at the number of men on the paper, and vote? But should that even be a reason? Shouldn't we be looking at issues of competence and who can actually get the job done to vote? Well, we'll be happy to hear what you make of all of these underlying issues going into the December 7 elections on our various social media pages. Be part of the national conversation as your Election Command Center brings you full, unprecedented, comprehensive coverage of the 2024 general elections. And on that note, we'll bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. I am Martin Asiedu, and I've been here with
Grace Hammoah Agyemang.
Do have a good evening. Regular programming resumes and the news team takes a bow now. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.